All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling a huge question that, let's be honest, every single investor thinks about. How do you protect your money when the market decides to take a nosedive? We're going to talk about building a real financial safety net for your portfolio.
You know that feeling, right? You're watching those numbers turn red on the screen, you feel that pit in your stomach, and you're just wishing you had some kind of parachute. Yeah, we've all been there. It's a feeling anyone with skin in the game knows all too well.
And that market volatility, man, it can feel like a full-blown storm just rolling in, threatening all of your hard-earned gains. So the big question is, how do we deal with that stress? How do we manage that uncertainty?
Well, that brings us right into our first section. We need to look at why we'd even need this protection in the first place. Let's talk about when markets turn south.
So what if you could actually prepare for that storm? I mean, what if there was a way to protect your portfolio that was a lot like buying insurance for your house? You pay for a policy, you hope you never, ever have to use it. But you sleep better at night knowing it's there. That same exact logic can apply to your investments. In this strategy, it has a name. It's called portfolio hedging. So what does that mean? It's really just using financial instruments, we're talking mainly about options here, to offset or kind of cancel out potential losses. It's all about creating a buffer for when the unexpected happens. Which leads us perfectly to our first practical strategy. In Section 2, we're going to look at what is essentially your portfolio's very own insurance policy. The main tool we're talking about here is something called a protective put. Now, all that is an options contract that's designed to go up in value when a stock you own goes down. So you see what's happening? While your stock is losing value, this put option is gaining value. It acts as a counterbalance, a real safety net. Don't let the fancy name throw you off. The simplest way, the absolute best way to think about a protective put is just this. It is insurance for a specific stock that you own, plain and simple.
And just like any other insurance policy, it's not free. Of course not. You pay a pretty small known cost upfront. In the options world, we call that the premium. And in exchange for that premium, you get protection against a potentially huge and totally unknown loss down the road. You're trading a small certainty for protection against a big, scary uncertainty.
Now here's what that actually looks like. On the left, you've got your unprotected stock, and in a downturn, it just keeps on falling. But look over on the right. With that protective put, you've created a floor. Your losses literally stop at a certain level. That's the safety net right there in action. So here's the trade-off, because there's always a trade-off. You limit your downside loss, awesome. And you still get to keep all of your potential upside if the stock kicks off. Also awesome. The only catch? Well, that premium you paid for the insurance is going to slightly reduce your total returns. That's the price of protection. But what if that premium seems a little pricey? What if you're thinking, is there a cheaper way? Well, that takes us right into Section 3, protection on a budget. So if you want that safety net, but you want to do it at a lower cost, there is another strategy you need to know about. It's called the collar. Building a collar sounds complicated, but it's really just 3 simple steps. First, you own the stock. That's easy. Second, you buy that protective put to set your price floor, just like we talked about. And now here's the new part, step 3, you sell something called a covered call. And by doing that, you're basically creating a price ceiling. Now, why on earth would you do that? Why would you put a ceiling on your gains? Well, here's the genius of it. Selling that call option brings in cash. You get paid a premium for it. And you can use that cash to help pay for and sometimes even completely cover the cost of the protective put you just bought. Okay, let's put them side by side. Both strategies, they protect your downside. That's a check for both. The key difference is cost. The protective put costs you that premium. But the collar, it can be super low cost or sometimes even zero cost. So what's the catch? It's the upside. With a protective put, your potential gains are unlimited. The stock can go to the moon. With a collar, because you set that ceiling, your gains are capped. You're basically trading away those potential home runs for much cheaper insurance. So with these tools in your toolkit, how do you decide if any of this is right for you? And that's exactly what we're going to cover in our final section, the price of peace of mind. Look, hedging always involves a trade-off. It's going to cost you something, either in cold hard cash for that premium or in missed opportunity by capping your gains. It is not for every investor and it is not for every situation. So that brings up the really important question. When does it actually make sense? The decision really boils down to 4 key things. First, your personal tolerance for risk. Second, what's your outlook on the market right now? Third, what's the actual cost of the protection? And fourth, what's your investment time horizon? Answering these questions for yourself is what will really guide your decision.
You know, in the end, it all comes back to this one powerful idea. Hedging is insurance. You hope you don't need it, but it's there if you do. This isn't about having a crystal ball and predicting the future. It's just about being prepared for different possibilities. And that leaves us with the last and maybe the most important question of all. This isn't really about what the market is going to do tomorrow. It's about what allows you to sleep at night and stick with your long-term plan without panicking. So, for your portfolio, for your goals, what's the right price for peace of mind?